we find ourselves once more in the warpath of the Jura Dai, a massive group of nomadic elves who have little regard for the world. This time, they have contaminated the water of the one and only oasis close to the village of Kled with a deadly poison. To make matters worse, they've captured the Thrycreen water cleric who looked after the oasis. Now, a drink from this once sacred spring is a death sentence. To covet water is one thing. In fact, it can be necessary to survive. But to leave the oasis unattended and poisoned for all to drink from? This is unconscionable. All who drink from it, who are not elves, perish almost instantly. We have already witnessed the gruesome wake left behind by the oasis's tainted waters. These animals were all part of the delicate order of things in Athos. Each life is. Only if the balance is kept can life continue to flourish, and one day provide fuel needed for the continued cycle of destruction and rebirth granted by the Great Fire. Whenever a life is taken, new life must also be given. I see the death, but I see no new life. All who draw breath on Athos have fought tooth and nail to survive. Even those who are not enslaved or lost in the harsh wastes. This oasis has become a mockery of that labor. The hands that guided its transformation were cruel, hateful, and violent. They sought suffering, but no nurturing, destruction without creation, and death without new life. It is our duty as children of the Dark Sun to provide to the continuation of the world we live in. As Skor, the thinker, once said, "The sun bears no ill will. It simply must burn, and as its children, we must all supply it with sustenance." The poisoning of this well is an affront to life. It is an affront to the Order of Athos, and it is an affront to the Dark Sun that burns above us all. But fear not, my friends, for just as the sun bears no ill will, nor does it play favorites, its flames will claim us all one day. And you, Jura Dai, your time has come. So swears Zarn, Crimson Exarch of the Sun.
Looking at Baroness, you're inside his small abode at this point, a bare, simple place with dirt floors and sparse dressings and furnishings. He sits there, a weak old man, weak from his great age, but also showing the signs of advanced dehydration, along with so many of the other villagers that you've seen. His lips are chapped, his eyes are sunken, his cheeks hollow, and it seems as though perhaps he's even has some bleeding around the eyes. There is a thick black secretion coming from his eyelids that glints slightly red. None of you have seen dehydration to this extent in your lives.
How long ago was it stolen?
Perhaps a week ago. The Jura Dai came to the oasis and kidnapped the druid, and we only found out after the fact that the water had been poisoned, and we have gone through all of our stores now and have been without any water for 3 days at least. We have been giving most of our rations to the children. I have not drank a drop in 5 days.
I see the suffering, both, of course, of Baroness and also of all the people that we met on the way into the town. This is intolerable, this cruelty that has been shown to these people. I ask him, have they presented you with any demands? Have they said why they did it? Or
it is retribution. We were forced to let a legion from Uruk stay here overnight, and they made us give them water, and they are doing this to punish us. The Jura Dai seek the recovery of their people who have been taken into slavery by the Sorcerer King of Uruk, and they do not care that we are suffering for it.
Do you know where the Jura Dai camp is?
Yes, I can give you a map. Please, if you would go and recover the druid, free him. Please, I will give you something to help you as well.
And he's too weak to get up. He points a shaky fist across the room.
There, in that bundle, but aside my bedroll, there is a steel sword of magical power, known as the Sword of Kimilac. I will give it to you, if you help.
steel? Have I seen steel? Was it something that we ever used in the gladiator pits, or is it so rare that it just never? It was something that only the Sorcerer King would wield.
You know that all of the Sorcerer King's Templars wield steel swords. In fact, all of all of Hamanu's army in general are equipped with steel weapons. This is one of the things that makes the army of Hamanu so formidable, and it has never lost a battle in the field, especially one that Hamano himself has led, which he tends to do. And as far as the arena goes, you yourself have never had the privilege of holding steel in your hand, though you know that some of the more powerful and famous gladiators do eventually do get bestowed by wealthy patrons with steel weapons, but you had not yet worked your way to that level, even close.
That would help us a lot. Thank you. I say, we of course, and I looked at the rest of the group, we of course accept, right? We have to help these people.
We have to help these people if we want to drink.
I stand up and I'm gonna go take you said it's right next to the bedroll?
Mm-hmm. It's in a bundle. It's wrapped up in a bundle.
I take the bundle and I unwrap it. Is there a steel sword inside of this?
Yeah, there is. It's a short sword. It gleams in the dim candlelight of Baroness's room. It is a very simple and ancient-looking dwarven weapon with a crescent hilt and a stout, simple, angular handle and a blade. It looks kind of like a gladius, but slightly more tapered. And when you pull it out, you are all astonished by it. You've never seen a weapon like this. And Baroness says,
"It is magical. It will hit better than any other weapon of its make, but it can also cure wounds. Twice a day, you can cure serious wounds with it. It is an ancient artifact that I recovered 50 years ago as we were excavating the ancient ruins of Kimilac, which lie beneath this village, which I have been seeking to uncover for the 150 years that I have lived here. But it is yours if you do this.
Yeah. Hey, boy, are you ready to wield the weapon of your ancestors? I say to Boast.
I just look at it, the sword with big eyes, awestruck. I don't even know how to act around this kind of weapon. It's,
I hold it out for you in both hands, still cradling it in the cloth that it was wrapped in.
And I pick it up very gently as though I'm afraid it's going to break. And I just move it around, and I suppose I feel how balanced it is, how elegant of a weapon it is compared to the weapons I've been able to wield so far, the bone weapons and the obsidian weapons.
Let's go kill some elves.
It sings through the air, and it is absolutely perfectly balanced. And you have this sensation that it has almost a will of its own, in the sense that when you swing it, it takes some of the weight out of the swing itself, making it that much easier to wield.
And I look back to Baroness. They will not give the druid up. I understand that correctly, yes? We will have to free him and
Yes.
sneak him out of their camp, basically, yes?
Yes, the Jura Dai are held up in an ancient fortress down southwest of here in the Stony Barrens. I can show you the way. I can draw you a map.
That would help. If you can draw the map for us, then we should set off and get this thing done. We need the water, if nothing else.
There is no time to waste. We have already begun to lose members of the village.
He takes out a piece of clay that's hardened, and he has a little bone scribe, and he begins to scribe into the clay a general basic map, and then hands that clay tablet to you, and he just says,
Commit this to memory. You may find yourself in a situation where this brittle tablet might shatter. Unfortunately, we do not have time to bake it before you leave.
Do you have any information about how many people are at this camp, the numbers that they have, or anything concerning the layout of the configuration of their camp?
Several hundred. 300 at least, I have heard. I have never seen the camp myself, or the fortress, but I know that it has several towers and a high wall, and it sits atop a cliff, and there's only one way into the camp from the south.
You would not have, by chance, have recovered any elven clothing?
he says,
In fact, we do have some articles that we could share with you.
May I have them? Yes, oui. That would be very helpful.
he tells you who to retrieve them from. He doesn't have them on hand, but it's easy enough to do. And it's just they're leather breeches and sort of this leather kind of halter that are common amongst the elves of the desert. It's a garment that allows them to move very freely.
So if I get dressed in them, do I look like a desert elf?
You would have to basically undo all of your standard efforts, which you typically use to hide your heritage. aspect of your heritage. So, but it would be enough. The one difference is you. One of the things that have allowed you to pass so well is the fact that you don't have the typical pointed elven ears. They're somewhat elongated, but they're not the what you know from like a full-blooded elf.
I will braid my hair in the desert elf style and do what I can to hide the part of my ear that shows that I am half human.
Okay, you want to give me... Do you have disguise?
It's an 8.
You doff the elven garb, and you do your hair up as quickly as you can, and you end up sort of transforming yourself. And now the rest of the party, what was before just a very tall female human, an elf now stands before you.
I wish I could say I was shocked.
I think Ma'ak is a little shocked to suddenly realize that Desi may be part elf after all, or at least can make herself look like one. I think he will just silently, now that as this is going on, he will sort of creep over to the leader dwarf, and he doesn't care if he protests or not. He's going to give him a drink from the canteen he knows isn't... it's basically the last of his good water. And he will basically just say,
Tekros. Important. First on clutch. Gets first. Sad.
Baroness says,
Thank you so much, Thrice Green. But there are more. Others in this village of greater need than I. There are some children that could use this little drink. I will have it delivered to them. And once again, I thank you.
He is the leader. It is his to distribute as he wishes. I will leave him with the canteen. I'm going to be dining on elf blood before too long, so I think I'll be fine.
And I look at the tablet. We've received a map now, yes, or we are about to.
Yeah, you received the map, and it's a very simple, crude map. It has some basic landmarks to look out for. For instance, there is a rock arch that he describes as being, several hundred feet in height and length, and it's unmistakable. And if you head southwest from the village, you should arrive there in a matter of a few hours. And he gives you some other things to keep in mind, but you can basically, without much more fanfare, as long as you look out for, there's 3 specific landmarks indicated. The stone arch, there is a 500-foot high stone pillar that he calls the neck of the dragon. And then there is a canyon. And if you follow both of those, it should lead you to the canyon. And then the canyon winds around to the south of the fortress of the Jura Dai and leads to the main road that takes you up to the southern entrance.
And I look to the group. Are we ready to go?
Yep.
Always.
So you can set out from the village, and as you leave, it is still it is the depths of night, but the entire village is out and giving you blessings and thanks and every manner of gratitude as you leave and they see you off into the desert and the night.
I just keep saying, I'm not really an elf. I'm not really an elf. I am your friend. I'm not really an elf. I just dress this way for these guys.
Of course. You're our friend. We trust you. We need to do this together, so...
I don't want the dwarves to be scared of me when they see me dressed like this.
You're very convincing.
Thank you.
Okay, so off into the Stony Barrens you go. Give me... anybody have survival Stony Barrens?
No. Can I use my other one at some kind of penalty?
Yeah, go ahead and give me your other survival. What was it? Sandy Wastes, I believe?
Sandy Wastes, yeah, so that is... Oh, I roll a nat 1, making it by 15.
So, yeah, you managed to get the group off in the right direction, and it's a few hours until you can see the silhouette of this great stone arch ahead of you.
Ma'ak, I wanted to run something by you, see what you think. I am wondering, you have this ability to connect with minds, right? If I can gain access to this camp, I can determine where they are keeping the druid, where the weak spots are in their defenses, relay that information to you, and get the three of you in, or perhaps once that information is available to me, we can decide what to do from that point on. What do you think of this?
Ma'ak makes the indication that he's going to reach out to you all telepathically, so that we can have a conversation and he can be understood. And so telepathically you hear Ma'ak in your mind say, even if we rescue this druid, what's to keep them from coming back and repoisoning the well or re-attacking the town of Kled or taking even more vengeance from what we do here? We either need to make it look like someone who is not associated with the town of Kled and this druid is doing this, or I say turnabout is fair play and we find a way to poison their water supply.
Or we just keep the water for ourselves.
As you guys are standing there and you see the stone arch silhouetted in the night, everybody give me either intelligence or wisdom checks, whichever's higher for your characters.
I make mine by 12, my wisdom check.
I rolled over.
I'm 17 or 17.
I roll 15 over 14.
So Ma'ak and Desi, as you're talking, you suddenly go quiet because silhouetted against the sky, you think you see a wisp of smoke in the distance. Maybe 1-2 miles away. It's hard to tell. Perhaps further.
I'll silently point it out to the rest of them, and since we're still communicating telepathically, I'll say, Scout? Sentinel? Of the Jura Dai? Will he see us coming and alert his fellows?
We best take care of him before then.
Yeah, it's in the direction you're heading. It's past, you can see it through the arch itself. And it's a wisp of smoke rising from the ground, like a campfire.
Maybe we can deal with them. Maybe we can even get some information about what we can expect over there.
Ooh, I like that.
And then as I end the mind link, I will basically say we will ambush him quickly and quietly, or them quickly and quietly, and know that mind link has no limit on distance, Desi. If we are connected, we can stay connected. And then I end it. All right, then. We, without delay, start making our way quickly and quietly, as secretly as I can, Aaron, towards that campfire. Now, understand, I can use my hunting proficiency to help other people sneak, but I get penalties for each one who is non-proficient. So I'm at a -3 to my roll in hunting. So I get a -3, since I assume the rest of them don't have hunting. But I can still try to get us up there, at least within 100 yards plus 1 die 100.
Yeah, go ahead and give me that roll then.
With the -3 penalty, I still make it by 2.
So, you scout ahead, somewhat. Part of the process of making this travel silent for the entire group is scouting ahead and noting the placement of any and every object that could create a trip or a fall or a collapse of rubble, anything that could possibly cause sounds. You are scouting out the exact perfect route that the rest of the group can take directly, basically, in your footsteps as you go. You basically guide yourself by that rising plume of smoke. And as you move through these stony barrens, you can start to see up ahead what you believe must be the dragon's neck coming into view. And you eventually get to a rise, and you look down into a hollow, a grotto area, and you can see a very small fire crackling away, and looks to be a single humanoid form lying next to the fire, not moving.
Am I the first to spot him?
Yes.
Can I identify if the figure is an elf, a male elf, a female elf?
We'll just make this a intelligence check.
Make it by 9.
So you can just dimly make out in the very low light of the campfire clothing that looks very similar to what Desi is wearing. And so you can make the assumption that this must be one of the Jura Dai. The only other thing is that it appears as though this individual is sleeping.
That looks like a very good opportunity. I begin moving forward as quietly as I can. I have my sword drawn as I am sort of crouching and moving forward as quickly as I can.
Okay. Ooh, man, that sword feels very good in your hand, and you are eager to use it.
That I am. I'm not someone who just kills for no reason, though. I would want its first victim to be deserving of that fate. Hopefully this character will help us. We'll certainly see that he is without chance.
And you can basically get to the point where you are close enough that you can now make out that it is a male elf lying there sleeping. And you can see next to the fire are the bones of the elf's meal that it cooked on this little cook fire. Next to him there is a satchel, a water skin, and a bone short sword lying just out of arm's reach.
I would love to swipe the short sword and the water skin.
Desi, you swipe the bone short sword and the water skin. Ma'ak, Boast, anything that you two want to do?
I move up close to this sleeping person, and I have my sword pointed at him, waiting for him to wake up.
And my Githka lays on the other side of the elf's neck from where Boast just placed his sword. So when he wakes up, he has two rather intimidating figures standing over him, and then I will pull my chatkachas in case he tries to run.
I clear my throat, hoping that will be enough. I try to do it quite loudly.
You hear the the snoring of the elf gets slightly louder, and then he rolls over on his side and kind of like swats away like something's fluttering around his ear.
And I tap him then with the sword.
When he swipes at this fly or whatever that he thinks is buzzing around him, he actually taps the tip of the short sword, at which point his eyes shoot open and he just freezes and he looks around and he just doesn't move his head, he just moves his eyes to look there at the point of the short sword, and then he glances his eyes the other way to see the point of the Githka, and he kind of puts his hands back and rolls onto his back, and he looks up around at the group of you and goes, You've got me. What is all of this about? Feel free to partake of my campfire, good gentles. No, foreign is not going to give you any trouble. I have water and some coin, if you would like that.
That is good, and we will partake of that, I say to him. But we are here for more pressing needs. We're looking for your people's fortress.
Why would you be looking for the fortress?
You have kidnapped the druid from the village of Kled. Have you not?
He tries very badly to lie and says, I don't know what you're talking about.
I think we should geld him.
Whoa. No need for that.
We can do this quickly, or we can make it take a long time. I mean, you're going to tell us what you know of the fortress where the druid is. You're going to tell us everything, because otherwise you're not going to survive this little encounter. And I'm sure you have more things that you want to do in your life. I would.
Yeah. Oh, damn. Tuga is not going to be happy about this. Damn, Farin. Why always sleeping on the job?
Tuga, is that someone important?
Tuga is the chief of the Jura Dai. Tuga Dai is his name. Yes, I was supposed to be out scouting the perimeters and thought I'd have myself a little, respite after I'd caught some nice succulent food here that I cooked up for myself, but I don't know. Listen, guys, there's got to be something that we can work out. If Tuga finds out that I was sleeping on the job and was snuck up on by a group, such a strapping group as yourself, it's not going to go very well for me. So, what do you want?
Well, we're going to head to that fortress, and if you don't give us information that will allow us to actually get in there and get what we need safely so we can get out, then chances are we're going to get captured. And you know what's going to happen then? We're going to have to tell them how we found out all these things about the fortress. And then I think Fauna, that's your name, right? Maybe we will have to tell Tuga Dai about the fact that you told us all that, and that us being here is really all your fault. How does that sound?
Oh, man, okay. Listen, I'll tell you whatever I can. Just don't say anything about this, please. And, we can just kind of let bygones be bygones and, move on with our lives. So, yes, maybe we could start with, you taking that pretty blade and kind of moving it away from my neck.
Certainly. Tell us what you know, and I begin moving the blade away. Tell us what you know, and we will let bygones be bygones. But we need that information, yeah? Because if we fail, you fail.
Well, why do you want to get to the fortress anyway? What business do you have up there?
Well, we have to find the druid.
Oh.
At this point, Aaron, Ma'ak, while he does sort of remove the Githka just a few inches from this elf's throat, he will reach into his harness and pull out a few of those poison petals that we retrieved from the reservoir, and I'll just sprinkle them on his forehead.
He without moving, he looks up as they kind of fall on his forehead and then scatter down around his chest and neck area, and he just glances and he goes, "Oh, you've been to the oasis, I guess."
That's right. We almost drank from it.
We have to. What else are we supposed to do? The Hamano keeps capturing and kidnapping our people and enslaving them. We've got to do something. And
So you poisoned a town miles away from Uruk? Yes, that will teach them. I'm sure they know all about it.
Those dwarves were helping the legions of Uruk. It's just deserts.
Did they have a choice? Would you have done things differently if it was between your life or being forced to help these people?
An elf would rather die than help any sorcerer king.
And yet you help us.
Well,
At pain of death.
well, I mean, you're not with the sorcerer king, are you?
No.
Well, listen, guys. I'll tell you what you need to know. I just, we can work things out here. So, yes, we took the druid and we poisoned the oasis, and we were planning on using the druid to help us recover the members of our tribe that had been kidnapped. I'm not exactly sure how. Jura Dai is the one with the grand plans. I'm just a scout. I don't have a lot of information other than, the druid. He's being kept in one of the towers in the fortress. In one of the prison dungeons in the bottom.
Ah, so they treat him like a slave.
A prisoner?
A prisoner who will do work for them. Who will see to it that their goals are met.
Well, I mean...
Sounds like slavery to me.
He is a bug. No offense to your companion here, but he's a Thri-Kreen, and he is an elf-eater. He's eaten many of our people who've strayed too close to the oasis, so it's not for nothing that we've done this. He has plenty of blood on his hand as well.
What were they trying to do, these elves?
Don't worry so much about... It's all water under the bridge, really, at this point.
No, it really isn't.
Elves, we're not affected by this poison, so it just seemed like good leverage. We can drink all we want of the water, so we're just trying to use the resources that we have at hand. There's little out here that we can take advantage of. This was one thing that we could do. We didn't see what other recourse we had. Now, yes, perhaps we went a little too far with the villagers of Kled, I'll grant you that, but I don't want to anger your dwarf here,
When you're killing children, you usually have gone too far.
Their dwarf?
Okay, guys, we've gotten off on the wrong foot now. I'm not trying to upset anyone. Understand? I'm just trying to explain myself.
I start casting Flame Sword.
Okay.
And I just to menace him. I'm not trying to attack him.
Yeah, and out of thin air, a scimitar bursts into flame. At which point the elf, his eyes go wide, and he goes, "Whoa! Come on! I didn't mean anything by it. I swear, I have nothing against the dwarves as a people in general. There's bad blood between the Jura Dai and Kled. It goes back years. It's not just, it didn't just start here, but really, Like, I'll tell you everything that you need to know. Just please don't hurt me. But what I'm going to say is I'll tell you what I can tell you, but I don't see what good it's going to do. There's over 300 of us in the fortress, and you're going to have to make your way through towers and sentinels, and every one of us sleeps out in the open, and you're going to have to work your way through those crowds to get to the tower where they're holding to click.
Okay, so at this point, Aaron Ma'ak has fished a half-burned stick out of the fire. He waves the fire out, so it's just smoking. He sticks it in the elf's hand and says,
Draw map. Fortress. Where is everything?
I'll draw the map, but you've got to promise not to eat me.
Draw good.
Okay, so he begins to draw a map in the sand of the fortress. What he ends up drawing is a compound that consists of 4 large towers. It's sort of a trapezoidal shape, and there's one really large tower that is in the northeast corner, and then the other 3 corners of the compound all have similar-sized, larger towers. And then these towers are connected to each other via sort of a high walkway. And then he describes a sort of an inner keep area where he says that there are ruins of ancient buildings. And he says that these are the areas where the families live, the elves of the tribe who are married and have children. They live within this area. He says that in the southeast corner of the inner keep area is a pen where they keep their kank herd, which numbers around 100. And then there is a gate that leads into the fortress itself on the western wall. And that the towers that are north and south of that gate have sentries in them at all times. And then there is a road that leads to the west from that gate and immediately turns and heads south for several dozen feet, and then comes to the main gate that takes you into the keep itself, and that is flanked by 2 smaller sentry towers that are collapsed towers that are only about 10 feet high, but is usually manned by sentries. And then if you continue the path that you've been taking and you go up through the canyon, that will lead to those to that small road and those 2 sentry towers that lead up into the keep itself.
Are there pass codes to get through the first 2 gates?
He says, no pass codes. We all know each other and can identify each other on sight.
Why not use the water cleric to provide water for everyone?
Yeah, Fondon says, you gotta understand, the reason that we did this was because, not to punish the dwarves, well, Tuga, yes, wanted to punish the dwarves of Kled for helping the Legion, but the Legion stop there and water their beasts from water that is collected from the oasis, and this is the only way to cut off their caravan route that leads through this region down to Tyr. This is to twist the screw against Uruk.
And how do we know? As I ask this, I kind of playfully inspect my flaming scimitar. How can we be so sure that the moment we leave you here, you will not run ahead and warn your comrades?
He said, I'm just going to stay right here. and act like I never fell asleep. You can just keep on going, and old Fanon is not going to bother you one bit.
Don't you think
swear
they'll find it strange that you let such a large group past you unnoticed?
Well, I mean, I am kind of on a trip around the perimeter, so who's to say I wasn't on the north side of the fortress when you came through here? You know.
Do I think I can knock this elf out without killing him?
I say we tie him up, and so he is not found until the next rounds come by. Just delay him. We want to risk killing him.
And I look at you and I suppose.
I was going to suggest we break his legs. Or, looking at the sword again, or we brand him, and we let them know in exact detail the scar that he will sport, and that he has betrayed them. That doesn't make sense. Actually, now that I've said that, I think breaking his legs sound better.
You guys are arguing over, like, what to do, and you're looking at each other, and you're not looking directly down at Fanon. The next thing you know, you look down, and you don't see him anymore.
Look around trying to identify where he has gone. I'm assuming he's running.
You notice this weird movement, like a ripple across the surface of the stone wall of the grotto, and you realize, like, it's moving in the shape of a person, a humanoid form. But it's completely masked with the texture of the rock behind it.
But we see it.
You see it, and it is just running all out.
Can I try to shoot it with my crossbow?
Yes.
Before you do that, I'm going to cast Fairy Fire on him. Suddenly, flame leaps from my hand and encircles the outline of his body. So basically a flaming silhouette around his wiggly, invisible silhouette. Everyone who makes attack rolls in darkness, which we are in, has a +2 to your attack.
Give me your roll at a +2.
I rolled an 11.
You hit. Thwunk, you hear the twang of bowstrings as the bolt sails through the air and sticks itself right into this textured form that's fleeing. You hear Fanon yell out in pain.
I rolled a 4.
Whatever this sort of chameleon effect that he had going suddenly falls apart, and what's left is you see Fanon himself still stumbling away, reaching towards his back, trying to grab hold of the shaft of the arrow that's embedded in his shoulder. He stops and he collapses to his knees, like reaching back still for the shaft of the arrow, and he puts his hand up and he says, I yield.
He will probably suddenly find Ma'ak in front of him, between him and where he was running. The Githka now menacingly pointed at his throat.
I yield.
Okay, I will shove him to the ground. I will unceremoniously yank that arrow out of his shoulder, and I will proceed to tie him up with whatever thongs of leather we scavenged from his stuff.
As you tear the arrow out of his back, blood begins to pump and surge, and you hear this guttural gurgling sound as he spits up blood onto the sand in front of him. And he dies.
It's a shame it had to end this way, but...
Is there any chance that this chameleon effect was made from an object, or was that an innate quality of his? Because if it is a cloak or something, I would very much like to have it.
You search him. He doesn't have anything else on him, on his person. So it was... and he made no sounds. There was no spell casting components to this, so couldn't have been arcane magic that he used.
Well, I think we had better go now. Try to hide his body so no one finds him.
And he's not wearing anything of particular note.
The only thing that you discover amongst his possessions, other than what I had already said, which was a water skin that had a gallon of water in it, there are 8 ceramic pieces on him that you can take. And then the bone short sword, if that's of any interest to you.
We should make sure that the body can't be found here by the camp. Just think that he's run off somewhere. That's probably better. Then they'll look for him. We'll spend resources on that. We do that, and then we move to the fortress.
Off you go.
Ma'ak finds himself lingering by the spreading pool of blood, this smell in the air, and I think he's trying to resist tasting elf for the first time.
You have not reached a level of dehydration where you lose control of your faculties. So you can resist on your own if you want.
All right. I think at this point he will, just knowing what a slippery slope that is. So he will actually gratefully realize that time is of the essence, and they will make haste towards the fortress.
So by the time you get to pass the Dragon's Neck, and you keep going, you head into the canyon, which is a box canyon, and it takes you for another mile or so up, and you can now see at the head of the box canyon, there's a trail that leads up the side of the canyon itself, and you can see looming there as the sun begins to rise, ahead of you, the silhouette of this imposing ancient fortress with multiple towers scattered along the cliff face.
You have listened to an episode of Red Moon Roleplaying, where we played the scenario A Little Knowledge for Advanced Dungeons & Dragons 2nd Edition and the Dark Sun setting. This has been a collaboration with our friends at the podcast Adventure Hook. Do check out the link in the show notes to get tons of new ideas for your game. Our Dungeon Master was Aaron Campbell, and Matthias was joined by Robert Randle, Amedeo Turturro, and Emelie O'Hara. The music was made by Ager Sonis and was used with permission from their label, Cryochamber. Check out their website at cryochamber.bandcamp.com or their YouTube channel for some moody, dark ambient for your gaming table. We would like to give massive thanks to our champions of the Red Moon, Martin Heuschober, Nastasia Raulerson, Simon Cooper, David, Julia, Camilla, and Ludwig Manford for their generous support. And we would of course also like to thank all of our other patrons. Without your support, the show would not be possible. If you want to support our work, please check us out on Patreon. You can get access to bonus campaigns for Cult of Indy Lost and Coriolis there, as well as get early and raw access to all of our recordings. You can also hear your name read on the show as a champion of the Red Moon, as well as play Cult with us. Most importantly, that support is what keeps the show going, so do check us out there. Thank you again for listening, and remember, water is life.